just I was just thinking about what TJ was saying about the confidence in the bad moments. Certainly true. Um, and I texted on the chat that it was kind of TJ, and I had the benefit of playing for Barclay Plager in St. Louis, and that's kind of the Barclay Plager method in my mind. Like, he was pretty tough on us as a group and as individuals sometimes when things were going really well. Like, if I was playing really well, Bark could be in my ear like, like, try doing this, try doing that. Like, you could have done that better. This should have gotten out. Blah blah blah. Kind of a gruff, honest, upfront guy. But if I was struggling, he was right there to pat me on the back and almost now looking back, sort of go through that approach, outcome, response, evaluation cycle. Well, and he was gruff. Well, what the hell were you trying to do there? What the hell you were thinking? And then, well, what the hell happened? And then it was like, well, try doing this next time. Or he wasn't quite Socratic, but he went through that process and then kind of patted you on the back and set you on your way. So absolutely, those bad moments are the moments where you could argue that we can give confidence, even though we can't really, but we can enhance or support or provide an environment where the player feels confidence. And certainly by the same token, we can't really take confidence away from a player who's truly confident, but we can break a player's confidence down with the way we coach them or teach them or speak to them. So absolutely agree with the observations that confidence is the player's responsibility, but we certainly as coaches have a big role to play in the cycle of confidence that happens to everybody. And last point, really quickly, that overconfidence thing, that's the male persona that's presented in the Confidence Code, the book. And Al, if you haven't read that, and if you coach girls at all, females at all, you really should seek it out and read it, because that's the default position for men, is to be overconfident and think they're better than they are. Again, generally speaking, not everybody, but there's a sort of a default genetic mechanism that pushes us to be overconfident. And on the flip side, there's a bit of a genetic predisposition for females to do the opposite, to be more self-deprecating. It's, again, it's not universal, but it's definitely part of the general psyche that once you're aware of it, whatever it is, then like all sort of psychotherapy, once you're aware of something, then you could work on it and maybe combat it or enhance it or better it. But so all really good sort of valid points. But Barclay is always in my frontal lobe as a coach, to remind to be there in the bad moments, especially.
It's I'll just make a comment on Barclay, because it's amazing, because he would be on the bench when you're out on the ice, and he'd run that commentary on the bench. Look at that stupid motherfucker. I told him not to do that. He's doing that. You knew whenever you're on the ice that he was just scorching you from the bench, and yet somehow everybody felt his love all at the same time. He was rough and gruff. He was brutally critical at times, but he had a great way about him for sure.
No, I was just gonna say, I think the key thing when you guys are talking about that coach is, like, you're talking about him in a way like you respect him and you knew that he had that appreciation for you and love for you or whatever. Like, I think that's the job as a coach. Like, you can say there's a lot of things you can say when the kid knows you got his best interest at heart and that you care about the kid, that you can say a lot of things that you can't say if the kid doesn't know that, or if you don't have that. If there's a coach out there who doesn't give a shit about his kids or whatever, I still think that there's probably, like, even though kids are different now and the way that they're parented and the way that they're spoken to is different, I still think that there's a way that there are people that can say things to kids when they have that trust and they know the kid. They can still say things that maybe other people can't. You know what I mean? Like my kids, my kids do this mixed martial arts. There's a guy who starts working with little kids around here, and I learn more from him probably than anybody else. You know, I think these guys that do the black belts, I mean, that's their whole thing, right? Is being a teacher. And you know, he's kind of tough on them, and the way that he speaks to them and the messages that he has, it's different than, you know, the way that things are going with the schools and patting kids on the back, and even some of the stuff that you see in youth hockey. I don't know. I think.
And that I'm whatever. Yeah. It might be really interesting to really pay attention to not just how he's saying things, but what languaging he's actually using to get his point across, because it might be instructive in terms of how he, you know, gets away with it.
It is. It's incredibly precise, and he uses, like, you can pick it out, the things that he says, and he says he says the same things a lot at certain times to certain kids. He's really, really precise with that. I don't know. Like I said, I really enjoy watching. I almost take my son there just for me to learn.